Okay, so welcome to week one. Let's get started. Just wanted to start with a quick introduction for how we're going to work in this particular course and as promised, provide you with a little bit of an overview of the assessment task, particularly the first one, a set of 5 knowledge tests that will be done over the first 5 weeks of the semester. So, firstly, what's going to be really important in this course is, because we're trying to keep everything in sync, is that you really plan your week. Now, I'm going to do my best to get recordings out at some point Friday or Saturday, so they'll be with you for the weekend. But completely understand weekends are not for doing schoolwork if you are a full-time student. That's the week, so when you do that, and the weekends are when you do other things. So I would really start the week by listening to or watching the lectures. Now, unless there is a particular reason why I want you to look at PowerPoints, I'm going to make the lectures like this one available both as audio recordings by themselves, so you can carry them with you on the go and listen to them like podcasts, or they'll be available like this one is as a video. The videos will be embedded in Canvas, but they'll also be available on my YouTube channel, which is in my RMIT YouTube channel. So if that's where you spend some of your time, and I know many of you do, you can just hit the subscribe button and they'll automatically drop. The podcasts, they work the same way. I don't know what the ethics and the copyright issues are with putting recordings into Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything like that, so I don't do that. Happy to explore it at some point when I've got the time, if you've got a need for it, but the podcasting distribution process that I have is pretty good, and I believe it should actually give you a notification. Okay, now at any point after you've watched the lecture, you can start reading, of course, but there's no real expectation that you will read until after you've attended the workshop. And at the workshop, I will prepare them on the assumption that you haven't done the reading, unless it's something in particular that I specifically ask you to do in the lecture, in which case I will also put it in an announcement so you can plan your time. But basically the workshops will be there to really embed and to explore the concepts and to help you know what you're looking for when you do the next step. You guessed it, you do the reading. So the reading will be in the reading list. You can access that. I've made a separate video about using reading lists if you haven't used it before. You can comment as you can go. You can do what I love doing, ticking things off your lists as you've read them. We're trying to keep it pretty manageable. Absolutely nothing to stop you going a bit further. There's an additional reading section in the reading list itself, so you can go and look and see what tickles your fancy and your interest there. But obviously your own research is encouraged, and very happy to talk to you about those things. And then it's only though when you finish the reading that you're going to do the knowledge test. So we have a knowledge test each week, so they're due by the middle of the following week. So we will have, you'll do all of this in week 1, and the middle of week 2, the week 1 knowledge test will be available. It's actually available from the first day of week 1, and it basically disappears at midnight on the Wednesday of week 2. So clearly they overlap a little bit over time, but effectively that's a quiz that will really ask you to confirm that you've done the readings, that you know the things that we expect you to know at the end of each of these first 5 weeks of content. So this fits in that knowledge test. While there are 5 of them, all of them together basically add up to the 15% overall requirement for your first assignment. And so together they basically make up 15%. If you miss one, then essentially the maximum score you can get for that first assignment will be 12%. Or I think Actually, I can't remember off the top of my head whether they're all equally weighted. I suspect the first one is just worth a little bit less than the others, just to give you the opportunity to get used to how it all works. Subsequently, there are 2 more assignments. Over the course of this course, if you do all of the assignments, you've basically got 8 different submissions. And that's because there are 5 quick knowledge tests for the first assignment, in total worth 15%. There are 2 submissions for assignment 2. I'll come back and talk about that in just a second. And then effectively your third assignment, which is worth a significant proportion of your marks, it will be due after our last class. It's effectively a take-home exam. You'll have 7 days from the problem being released. It's a hypothetical scenario to complete that. So back to assignment 2 for a second. That has 2 components. The first part of that is an analysis. So you'll be given a hypothetical scenario again, and you, together with somebody else, will work in a pair to produce a piece of writing together, a bundled piece of writing that addresses that hypothetical scenario. Those groups may well be assigned unless you can organise yourselves well enough in the workshops. The plan is here that we will have a law student and a business student in each group, or close enough to that. And assuming that we have those groups, we might have to tweak a little bit if we're not exactly on the half and half. Effectively, the law student will be acting as a lawyer in a scenario, and the business student will be acting as a business person, and they will work together to solve a problem. So I think that'll be quite a fun assignment and a really, really great way for you to put the work that you're doing in this course into action, but also to spread your wings a little bit and to get to work with somebody who's in a different discipline from you, which has some really, really great benefits. After that, and there's only a 2-week gap between these 2 assignments, essentially when the first assignment is due, or the part 1 of assignment 2 is due, the second question will come out. It may or may not be related to the same problem. I haven't worked that out yet, to be perfectly frank. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Essentially you will individually undertake an academic critique. So here we will be using some technology. We will be thinking about the legal issues that are relevant to that technology, and you will be critiquing that in academic language. And obviously, when we get closer to that, I'll be giving you some feed forward about how to do that. And then we shoot along to the end of the semester. Hopefully by then we're in the habit of staying in sync. We've had some robust conversations, some wonderful workshops. And in fact, you're going to be saying, oh my goodness, why do I have to study for my other subjects? I'd much rather be doing this wonderful 7-day take-home exam type problem that will be your final assignment and your final submission for this course. Because why not? Learning is fun. Well, it's fun for me. So let's see. So it's worthwhile because it does seem like there's a lot going on here, but I want you to know it's been really, really beautifully thought through. The people who put this course together initially have really done their work here to pull these pieces together. So you will see, this is just a cut and paste, an image from Canvas. You will see, and for those of you who are listening at home, have a look on Canvas in the welcome section to the assessment alignment page, or just download the PowerPoint and have a look at that. You will see how for the assessment 1, the 5 knowledge tests, each of them are on a separate topic. So the very first one will be on jurisdiction and the internet. Assessment 2 could cover, 2 parts of it. The analysis problem will cover anything in weeks 1 to 8, and the critique could be anything from week 1 to 10. And then subsequently, weeks 1 to 11, all of the topics might be covered in the final assessment piece. And so you can see here that 15% of your marks comes from these 5 individual tests. Then there's 20% for the group work analysis piece, 15% for your own critique, which together make the 35% for assessment 2. And then assessment 3 is really the most significant part of your marks. For this course, it's worth 50%, so it's as serious as an exam, but hopefully a lot more fun and a lot more opportunity for you to take the time in a non-panic situation to really dig deep and show us what you've learned and how clever you are, because I have no doubt that you're able to do that well. So again, thinking about assessment 1, there are a couple of points that I really wanted to make here. I'm going to make sure that each of them has a total score of 30 for no reason other than it gives you a sense of how you're going. What often happens is people, if they particularly get stuck on the first question, because I'm not going to promise that I'll start with an easy question and make them harder and harder and harder, they'll just end up how they end up. So if each question is worth, if there are 30 questions and they're all worth 1 mark, then you know I'm expecting you to be able to move through them at about a minute each. And if you can't get it finished in a minute, you're probably better off putting it aside and going through and answering the ones that you can. Now, it's more likely that there are going to be some that are worth a small amount, some multiple choice questions or something like that. And then there might be a free text question where I'm asking you for your opinion about something or for you to analyze something, and that will be worth a bit more. So say, for example, if there is a question that asks you to do something to include your own analysis and it's worth 5 points, I'm not looking for 5,000 words. I'm looking for what you can write sensibly in 5 minutes. That's kind of the rule of thumb, and that's why I'm going to make them out of 30 because all of them will be set to be done and dusted within 30 minutes. Because these are weekly, because they're online, because they can be done in half an hour, it will be very, very rare that you'll be able to talk me into giving you an extension. I mean, you will literally need to be bleeding from the eyes. You know that they're coming. You've basically got 10 days from the day that you get word of them or they get open till the day that you need to submit them. There are 5 of them, so it's not going to make a material difference if you miss one or you do badly on one. But it's really important that we keep as synchronized as we can, and so I'm really going to need a really good reason. Of course, sometimes there are really good reasons. Many of you will have equitable learning plans. Clearly, I will be fair, but I just want you to know that it is really difficult for me to give extensions without all the proper paperwork and all the rest of it for assignment 1. For assignments 2 and 3, again, 3 is difficult because it's effectively the equivalent of an exam, but I, as the course coordinator as well, I do have some discretion in relation to granting extensions before you need to go and get special consideration. There are some rules though, so try and make it as easy for me to help you as possible. So do not ask me for an extension on the day it's due. I don't have the discretion to give you an extension that day. I have discretion up to 24 hours before it's due. So even if I haven't addressed it, try and get that extension request in as early as you can. Provide the supporting documents. Have a look at the policy and make sure that you request an extension, if you're going to need one, that is consistent with the policy. If you need an extension, that is most likely that you feel terrible, something awful's happened, or you are not well, or some combination of that. So it can be really easy to just be bleh and not want to deal with it. I completely understand that, but it is worth your time and effort to just be really clear. What are the grounds I can get an extension for? You don't have to tell me your life story, but just provide a reason that I can approve, and make sure that you provide all of the accompanying documents. Of course, if I can't give you an extension, the next step will be special consideration. Again, their process is very formal and much more cumbersome. So just try, if heaven forbid you need that help, to get to me early. The other point I want to make about Assessment 1 generally is that this is mostly summative assessment. So it's really going to ask you a question that's really just going to ask you to demonstrate that you've done the reading. It's going to sum up what you've learned. But because the course learning outcomes are what they are, there may well also be some analysis or critique questions as well. They'd be free text type questions. I don't think you'll have one of those in everyone, but you'll have one in some of them. So basically, this is about being organized, getting into the habit of planning your week, making sure that you get the reading done. Like I said, there's no need to read before the workshops, but it won't hurt if you do, particularly if you've got a big weekend coming up or some reason why it might be very difficult for you to get the other assessment tasks done. You might want to get it over and done with earlier in the week, and that would be fine. So that's the last of our very first part of the week 1 video. So far, so good for me. And we'll get into some content in the next video when I'll start addressing the jurisdiction problem. I'll see you, or you'll be seeing me or listening to me there. Questions, concerns, frustrations, compliments, you know where to find me. Cheers.